The secret place, dwelling in the shadow of the Almighty. Psalm 91:1-2. The hidden refuge of the soul. There are days when the soul feels utterly exhausted beneath the unending noise of life. Everything spins too fast. The heart grows weary from carrying too much. And somewhere, along the way, you stop hearing your own breath. People see your smile, but only God knows. There are nights when you want to let go, when fear quietly creeps in, and your prayers dissolve into silence. And in those moments when everything feels empty, something miraculous happens. A whisper so soft, so faint, yet it pierces straight through the noise. Come away, there is a place waiting for you. That place is not on any map. It isn't built by human hands, nor measured by distance or time. It lies hidden within, beyond the crowded streets, beyond the walls we build to look strong. Scripture calls it the secret place of the Most High, a realm untouched by the world, where the soul rediscovers its first breath. After being lost for so long, there time slows down, the noise fades, and the presence of God settles over you like a gentle breeze. Devotional, a longing heart. It is not an escape, but a return. Not a place to run from the world, but a place to rest in Him. Psalm 91 begins with a mystery. He who dwells in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. That word, dwell, speaks of a journey. It's not a passing visit when trouble comes. It's a life lived in His presence, an abiding trust beneath His wings. In a world that changes with every sunrise, those who make their home in Him discover a peace that never shifts. But that place does not open to the hurried heart, can be reached by effort or intellect, only by surrender. God does not hide it to keep us out. He, this same who will draw near, He conceals it behind silence. So only those who slow down can find it. He places it behind surrender, so only those who let go can enter. And He wraps it in love, so only those who trust can remain. Picture a traveler wandering through a burning desert, sun blazing overhead, sand whipping in his face. His strength fades. Hope feels far away. Then on the horizon, he sees a massive rock casting a wide shadow across the sand. He steps beneath it, breathes, and for the first time that day, he feels alive again. That is the image of a soul resting under the shadow of the Almighty. In that shelter, fear loses its heat, worry loses its weight, and grace becomes the cool shade that restores life. The secret place is not empty silence. It is sacred stillness, the space where God speaks between your breaths. It's where you stop talking long enough to hear the whisper of heaven. In that place, prayer becomes presence, and striving turns into surrender. You no longer need to carry the weight of everything. You realize His hands were holding it all along. Even Jesus Himself withdrew to quiet places to pray, in the wilderness, on the mountains, before dawn. Surrounded by crowds and miracles, He sought solitude, not to escape people, but to be with the Father. It was there, in the stillness, that His strength was renewed, His purpose anchored, His peace restored. If the Son of God needed that sacred stillness, how much more do we? But we live in a world afraid of silence. We fill every moment with sound, light, motion, terrified of what we might hear if things grew quiet. Yet silence isn't the absence of life. It's the invitation to find it. When you stop running, when you stop proving, when you simply breathe, you begin to hear Him again. And in that moment, everything changes. The noise no longer defines you. The weight you've been carrying begins to lift. A soft light fills the spaces that once felt empty. You realize you are seen, you are loved, you are safe. That is the secret place, not a refuge from life, but a refuge within God Himself. Not a place to hide, but a place to be held. The journey of faith doesn't begin with grand gestures or heroic steps. It begins the moment you stop and whisper, "Lord, I'm here." Because when you stop, your soul begins to hear. And in that gentle pause, you discover something timeless, a sacred truth beating at the heart of existence. There is a place where fear ends and faith begins. A place where grace sings louder than the storm. A place where the weary find rest. Not in escape, but in embrace. That place is not far away. It is closer than your breath, waiting for every heart brave enough to seek. The secret place, where the Almighty waits, not to be found by the restless, but to be known by the still. Part 1. Entering the secret place. To enter the secret place of God is not a journey outward, but a return inward, a coming home to the space where the soul was first born, where humanity's breath first mingled with the breath of its Creator. It is not a road walked with the feet, but one opened by a whisper of the heart. Lord, I need you. The world teaches us to keep moving, to chase, to strive, to conquer. But in the kingdom of God, the sacred begins when we stop, when we cease striving, when we stop running, when we surrender the illusion of control. A new door opens, not before us, but within us. On the other side of that door lies the secret place, the hidden chamber of the soul that only surrender can unlock. Scripture says, "He who dwells in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty." To dwell is not to visit, but to stay, to make your home there. Remain in His presence, the way a child rests in the arms of a loving Father after wandering too long. We do not go there to perform, to impress, or to prove. We go simply to be, breathe, to exist in the rhythm of His presence. Many look for God in the spectacular, in miracles, in moments of grandeur. Yet the true miracle begins when the soul learns to be still, when we stop chasing the noise, when our thoughts quiet down, and our hearts stop defending themselves. We begin to hear something we've missed all along, the whisper of peace. In that whisper, there is no demand, no pressure, no fear, only invitation. And the moment we let go, God begins to move. In that quiet, strength takes on a different meaning. Real strength is not in holding on, but in letting go. It's in the hands that release control, the knees that bend, the heart that dares to surrender. When we let go, His hands take hold. When we bow, grace lifts us. When we are silent, His voice grows clear. In weakness, we discover a power stronger than any will of ours, but own the strength of the unchanging One who holds us even when we fall. To enter the secret place is to learn the holy art of stopping. Not because we are weary, but because we finally understand that nowhere else is worth going. Every path apart from Him ends in emptiness. We stop not to escape the world, but to rediscover our hearts within it. Realize that peace is not the absence of chaos, but the awareness of His presence in the midst of it. In the rush of life, the secret place is like a long exhale, a pause where time slows down, where pain quiets, and where the voices in our head fade into silence. And in that silence we hear it, "Be still, for I am here." With those words, everything changes. It is no longer us reaching for God. It is God reaching for us. No longer us trying to understand Him. It is Him understanding us completely. The secret place of God is not far away. It isn't on a mountain peak, or behind temple walls, or at the end of some long spiritual pilgrimage. It is here, in every breath, in every pause, in the space between two heartbeats. Every time you close your eyes, stop speaking, and whisper, "Lord, I am here," that door opens. Not by effort, but by grace. Inside that place, you learn to listen differently. Not to gain answers, but to encounter presence. For sometimes God does not want to explain. He simply wants to embrace. Tears fall and prayers fail. He does not rush to speak, because love does not rush. He just is. He surrounds, He understands, and He waits until your heart finds rest in His. In the secret place, faith stops being effort and becomes breath. You no longer try to believe, you simply do. Like a child resting in its father's arms, it does not have to convince itself. It is safe. It just knows. And so it is with the soul that abides in God. Peace is no longer something to pursue. It becomes your natural state of being. Then, when you rise from prayer and step back into the world, nothing around you may have changed, but something within you has. A quiet stillness follows you. It moves through your voice, your gaze, your footsteps. Others might not understand why you carry such peace in a storm, but you will know. It is because you've learned to dwell under the shadow of the Almighty. The secret place isn't just a destination. It's a way of living. Each day, you return inward to that quiet corner of your soul where God waits. Every time you choose love over anger, forgiveness over pride, stillness over chaos, you enter the secret place again. You don't leave the world behind. You bring heaven into it. It is the space where fear dissolves, where tears no longer sting, where burdens lose their weight and loneliness turns into the whisper of grace. There, you no longer need to find God, because you realize He was never gone. And once the soul learns how to stay, everything else in life becomes secondary. For the goal is not how far we go, but how deeply we abide. And in abiding, we find Him. And in Him, we finally find ourselves. Part 2. Under the shadow of the Almighty. There comes a moment in life when you stop and realize you've walked too long beneath the harsh sun of this world, where trials burn, fears dry the heart, and worries weigh the soul down. Yet even then, something miraculous happens. You begin to notice a shade that has been there all along, covering you quietly, faithfully. It isn't the shade of walls or human comfort, but the shadow of the Almighty, the sheltering wings of a God who has never stopped protecting you, even when you didn't see it. To live under His shadow is not to escape the world, but to be covered within it. Denial of reality, but the discovery of a deeper one, where God's presence changes what reality feels like. It's like a traveler lost in a scorching desert who suddenly finds a great rock, casting cool shade. He sits down, leans against it, and breathes again. That is what it means for the soul to rest under the shadow of God, where peace is no longer something you must hold on to, because peace itself is holding you. The psalmist wrote, "He will cover you with His feathers, and under His wings you will find refuge." What a tender image. Wings spread wide in a storm, gathering fragile souls inside. These are the arms of love that never retract when we fail, that never retreat when we fear, that never withdraw when we fall. Beneath those wings, you can finally breathe. You can cry. You can let go. You can stop trying to be strong and still not be left behind. Under His shadow, the definition of strength is rewritten. Out there, strength means never breaking, never depending, never bending. But in here, in the soft light of grace, strength is surrender. It is the courage to say, I can't do this on my own. It is daring to believe that when I let go, He will lift me up. In that holy weakness, divine strength is born. The shadow that feels like protection becomes the source of power for the soul. The world tells us safety comes from control, that peace is achieved by holding on. Teaches the opposite. Peace comes when you finally release, when you stop trying to master everything. You realize He already holds it all. His shadow doesn't steal the light. It proves the light is near, because a shadow can only exist when light is present. And so we ask, if God is with me, why do I still hurt? Why am I still afraid? Why do I still lose? The answer comes softly. His shadow doesn't remove the storm. It covers you in it. In pain, He is there. In fear, He whispers. In the breaking, His hand rests upon your heart, not to erase the wound, but to make it holy. David once hid beneath that shadow, hunted, betrayed, alone in a cave. He still sang, "Better my refuge and my fortress." He didn't find peace in safety. He found it in presence. The darkness of the cave became the darkness of His wings. A shadow within a shadow, both surrounding him with love. Elijah heard that same presence. not in the wind, not in the fire, but in the gentle whisper. God's voice is rarely loud because intimacy doesn't need to shout. Only the humble heart can hear a whisper. Only the surrendered spirit can recognize the nearness of love. And so it is with us. In the nights when you cannot feel him, do not assume he has left. Shadows don't disappear when the light shifts. They simply move with you. You may not see him, but he is still covering you. And often, it's in the seasons when you feel nothing that he is closest. Because true faith is not built on feeling. It rests on the unchanging presence of God. Under his shadow, the soul is healed not by time, but by touch. The time may dull the ache, but only God can restore what was broken. There are wounds no human can reach, but he can. There are fears no one understands, but he does. And in that sacred stillness beneath his wings, healing begins. There the illusions of the world fade like mist in morning light. Success, control, pride, reputation, all melt away before the warmth of grace. You realize peace isn't something to achieve. It's something to abide in. You no longer need to seek love, because love has already found you. You no longer chase safety, because you are already safe. And as you remain there, something beautiful happens. The shadow begins to travel with you. Others sense it before you do. A quiet calm around you, a softness in your voice, a peace that feels contagious. For whoever dwells under his shadow will carry that shadow with. They become a shade for others, a resting place for weary hearts. They no longer preach peace, they embody it. God transforms those once trembling beneath his wings into shelters for others still searching for them. Under his shadow, your eyes learn to see differently. You stop asking, "Why is this happening to me?" and start whispering, "Lord, what are you teaching me through this?" And suddenly, suffering no longer feels like punishment, but invitation, an unexpected doorway leading closer to his heart. You may still be walking through the valley, trembling in the dark, but remember this: shadow is not the absence of light. It is proof of nearness. God has not withdrawn, he has drawn closer than ever, covering you completely. So pause for a moment. Take a deep breath. Imagine his wings stretched over you, soft as air, strong as mountains. Feel the weight of his love, the warmth of his protection, the quiet rhythm of his presence. And in that stillness, listen closely. You will hear him whisper the same words he has spoken since the beginning of time. Do not be afraid, for I am with the Civil is, because this is the shadow of the Almighty, the place where sunlight softens, where winds grow gentle, where the soul finds rest. Here, you don't have to prove anything. You don't have to fight to belong. You don't have to run anymore. You only have to stay. For in this sacred shelter, in the breath of his love, the heart finally knows, I am covered, I am kept, I am loved. Part 3. The trials that lead us there. No one asks for storms. No one prays for heartbreak, for loss, for long nights filled with silence and unanswered prayers. And yet, mysteriously, it is often the storms that lead us to the secret place, the very heart of God, where grace becomes breath and peace becomes presence. There are truths that can only be born in silence, and there is a kind of love that can only be understood through brokenness. When life collapses and everything we trusted begins to fall apart, the soul asks the oldest question in human history. If God loves me, why is this happening? That question doesn't offend God. It opens the door to him, because only a heart that has been shattered can be fully open, and only an open heart can be filled. The storms of life are not sent to destroy us, but to reveal what we stand upon. Winds blow and the foundations of our self-reliance crumble. What remains is the rock that cannot be moved, God himself. He doesn't always still the storm immediately, because he knows what the storm can teach us that calm seas never could. In the roar of the wind, begin to hear not thunder, but a whisper, I am here. It's often in pain that we truly learn to pray. When prayer is no longer polished words but grumbling breaths. When hands are lifted, not in strength but in surrender. That's when the door to the secret place opens.
God doesn't wait for our perfection. He waits for our honesty.
And sometimes he allows the storm to strip away everything until honesty is all that's left. Think of Jonah, running from God's call. The sea raged, the ship shook, and he was cast into the deep. Yet it was in the belly of darkness that Jonah looked up and cried out, and God heard him. The deep wasn't punishment. It was invitation, a descent that became redemption. The storm wasn't sent to drown him, but to turn him home. David knew that place too. He didn't write his songs of trust in comfort, but in caves. Hunted, betrayed, alone, and there, surrounded by shadows, he sang, "You are my refuge." His faith wasn't born in safety, but forged in fire. Even Jesus, the Son of God, trembled in his storm. In the Garden of Gethsemane, his sweat fell like drops of blood as he prayed, "If it be possible, let this cup pass from me." And yet he whispered, "Nevertheless, not my will, but yours be done." Raw, human, surrendered, was the purest expression of faith the world has ever seen. True faith isn't about understanding, it's about staying. The storm teaches what sunshine never can, that grace is not only for calm days, it lives in every tear, in every gasp for air, in every broken cry. God isn't absent in pain, he's right there in the middle of it. He doesn't stand outside the fire, he steps into it. And within that fire, he refines us, burning away fear, pride, and pretense, until only love remains. It's not always easy to see while we're in it, but our trials are doing a holy work. They strip away arrogance, dismantle self-dependence, and break the illusions we build around ourselves. When everything else falls apart, we discover what was unshakable all along, him. And in that discovery, the soul breathes for the first time in ages, not because life has become easier, but because it has become real. Storms never last forever. One day the winds will quiet, the clouds will part, and sunlight will return. But the soul that has stood in the storm will never be the same. It will be deeper, softer, more humble, and more attuned to the whisper of the Spirit. It will know that peace isn't the absence of waves, it's the presence of Jesus within them. Perhaps you are there right now, in the middle of a storm that feels endless, when prayers fall silent and faith feels small. Maybe you've lost what you thought you couldn't live without. Maybe everything you've built is trembling. But hear this, you are not forgotten. God is not far. He's not waiting for the storm to end. He's inside it, steering the wind with. And when the noise finally dies down, you'll hear it. That still, small voice that calms the waves within. I am here. Do not be afraid. One day you'll look back and understand. You'll see that what felt like breaking was actually remaking. That the nights you cried were the nights he was nearest. That the wounds you feared would never heal became the very places his glory shone through. You'll realize that your tears didn't weaken you. They made you honest. Your breaking didn't end you. It became the moment grace rebuilt you. The storm was never your enemy. It was your guide. The compass that pointed you home didn't come to punish you. It came to pull you back into the arms of the one who never left. And when you emerge from the storm, drenched, trembling, yet alive, you'll hear his voice again, soft as the dawn after rain. I was with you all along. And in that moment, you will know. He never left you, not for a second. The storm that you feared was the same wind that carried you to safety. It led you to the only place where peace truly begins, into the heart of God himself. Part 4. The Voice in the Stillness. After the storm, when the clouds fade and the earth is still damp, the world seems to hold its free. The wind no longer howls, the thunder quiets, and for a moment, even time stands still. Yet within that silence something moves, gentle as breath, soft as dawn mist. voice faint yet powerful enough to reach the deepest parts of the soul. It is not a sound that strikes the ear, but one that touches the heart, the whisper of God. He doesn't speak through thunder or fire, not through spectacle or lightning, but through presence, through the quiet that carries his peace. Like Elijah standing at the mouth of the cave, God was not in the wind, nor the earthquake, nor the fire, but in a gentle whisper. And in that stillness, Elijah knew. The power of that moment was not in its volume, but in its closeness. For only in stillness can the soul draw close enough to hear the whisper of love. We spend our lives running from silence. We fear it because silence forces us to face what we've hidden, our questions, our pain, our emptiness. So we fill every space with noise, movement, distraction, endless screens, and the voices of the world. Yet in all that sound, we lose the one voice that can heal us. God has never been silent. We've simply forgotten how to listen. God does not compete for our attention. He waits patiently. When the noise of the world grows distant, when exhaustion quiets our minds, when we finally stop striving, that's when he begins to speak, not in explanation, but in presence. He speaks through rhythm, through breath, through light slipping across your window, through tears that fall when words fail. Without a single sound, he says, I am here. Hearing the voice of God is not a skill, it's a grace. He does not require understanding, only surrender. Sometimes his voice comes not as a word but as peace that defies logic. The moment your heart stops trembling, even though nothing around you has changed. That is his language, for God does not always speak to answer. Sometimes he speaks simply to embrace. In stillness, you discover that God was never far. He was there all along, in every breath, every pause, every heartbeat. When you stop reaching, stop running, stop filling the silence, you realize the emptiness you feared was never empty. It was full of him. He speaks in ways only the heart can hear. When you are weary, he whispers, rest in me. When you are afraid, he says, do not fear, for I am with you. When you feel unworthy, reminds you, I have chosen you. And when you doubt your worth, he says softly, are mine. Each whisper becomes a thread of healing, weaving light into the cracked edges, to the soul. The world tells us our worth is in doing, in achieving, in constant motion, that silence is a waste. But in the kingdom of God, silence is where miracles begin. It is in quiet that prayer becomes listening. It is in rest that love is reborn. It is in stillness that the soul is renewed. Sometimes God says nothing at all, but his silence is not absence. It is another form of life. Like a father sitting beside his child through the night, he doesn't need to speak. His presence is enough. Here, there are moments when his silence is the answer. As you learn to listen, you begin to hear his voice, not only in prayer, but in life itself. In the laughter of a child, in the sunlight on your face, in the morning breeze. Every tender thing carries a trace of his breath, and you begin to live differently, not chasing holy moments, but seeing holiness in every moment. Stillness teaches us that we don't have to do anything to be near God. We simply have to be. Each breath becomes a prayer. Each pause becomes an offering. And as the quiet fills you, his voice begins to move through you. Peace stops being something you search for. It becomes something you carry. Then one day, when storms rise again, as they always do, you won't fear them the same, because you've heard his whisper before. You'll know he's still there, even in the chaos. When the wind howls, you'll close your eyes, draw a deep breath, and remember his words, be still, I am here. That is how stillness becomes a sanctuary. You no longer need temples of stone or holy places built by hands. The holiest ground is found in the heart that knows how to stop. Wherever there is silence, there is his presence. And in that sacred pause, everything else fades until only one truth remains. God does not speak through noise. He speaks through nearness. So close your eyes. Breathe deeply. Let the world fall away for a moment. Between the rise and fall of your heartbeat you will hear it, a whisper gentle and clear. You are loved. You are mine. And when you hear it, don't rush to leave. Stay. Let that stillness surround you like morning light. Let his peace settle into you until every fear softens, every burden lifts, every restless thought dissolves into quiet. Then, when you open your eyes, the world may still roar, but inside, something eternal will remain untouched. Because once you've heard the voice in the stillness, you'll never walk alone again. Part 5. Living from the secret place. Once the soul has touched the secret place of God, nothing is ever the same again. The way you see the world, the way you love, the way you move through your days, everything changes, because once you have been with him, you carry him wherever you go. Life is no longer a list of things to accomplish. It becomes a flow of presence, an unbroken awareness that you walk not alone, but hand in hand with the divine. To live from the secret place doesn't mean withdrawing from the world. Within it, with a heart anchored in peace, it's a sacred harmony between movement and stillness, between work and worship, between the world's noise and heaven's whisper. Those who live from this place are not spared the storms. They are simply at peace within them. There are mornings when sunlight spills softly across your room, and you feel something light within you, not because everything is perfect, but because you know you're no longer carrying it all alone. Every breath becomes thanksgiving. Every step becomes prayer. The smallest things, a smile, a word, a gentle look, become ways that God loves through you. When you live from the secret place, you stop chasing approval because you already know you are accepted. You stop fearing loss because you know you are covered by unchanging. You stop trying to prove your worth because it was sealed long ago at the cross. Each day becomes less about striving and more about abiding in love, in peace, in grace. Those who live from this hidden place carry heaven's quiet into the crowd. They don't need to speak loudly. Their presence itself becomes a language of love. They notice pain without judging, listen with their hearts before answering with their lips, and see others through eyes softened by mercy. For once you've rested beneath the shadow of the Almighty, you learn that compassion is the language of God. The world might look at them and not understand. How can someone remain calm in the face of Liverloose? Should you smile while standing in the ashes? But they know it isn't human strength. It is the peace born from the secret place. They no longer live by reaction, but by trust. No longer ruled by circumstance, but led by presence. Living from the secret place turns prayer into more than a moment. It becomes a way of being. Every breath becomes a yes.
Every pause becomes a conversation with God.
Don't wait for quiet hours to meet him. You find him in everything, in the dishes, in the laughter, in the hum of the day. And somewhere in that rhythm, you begin to hear his whisper again, I am here. And in those ordinary moments miracles unfold, not in mountains moving or seas parting, but in the heart being renewed day by day. You start to see him everywhere, in sunlight, through the trees, in raindrops on glass, in the eyes of a stranger. Everything becomes holy, not because the world has changed, but because you have. Grace has opened your eyes. To live from the secret place is to love as he loves, with no demand, no measure, no end. Those who know they are loved unconditionally naturally become wells of love for others. They no longer try to forgive. They forgive because they have been forgiven. Longer fear giving, they give because they know they can never run out. Sometimes, living from this place means walking without knowing the path. It means trusting before you see. It means smiling in the dark because you believe the dawn is coming. Becomes as natural as breathing because your soul has learned to rest beneath his wings. No longer worry about what's ahead because you know who is already there. When the storms return, Because life will always bring them. You no longer ask why. You simply whisper, Lord, help me see you in this. And something sacred happens. In the pain, you see compassion. In the loss, you glimpse purpose. In the darkness, you find light. Once you've learned to live from the secret place, you realize that every trial is an invitation to come closer. There will be days when peace comes like a soft breeze, days when grace falls like rain, and days when God teaches through silence, so that you learn to find Him not just in miracles, but in every ordinary breath. And when you finally understand that, you see the secret place not merely as a refuge, but as the very source of life. Living from the secret place means living by grace. It's waking up each morning and saying, I don't know what today will bring, but I know you'll be there. It's carrying His peace into chaos, His mercy into pain, His light into darkness, not through your own strength, but through the power of the one who lives within you. Because in the end, to live from the secret place is not to escape the world. It is to bring heaven into it. It is to walk through dust with your heart in the clouds, to love through pain, to hope through doubt, to smile through tears. It is to let your heart become a resting place for God and your life a quiet testimony that He is real. And when you live this way, every day becomes worship. Every breath becomes part of the greater symphony of grace. The world may remain noisy, but within you there is a stillness that cannot be shaken, a quiet light that will never fade. For there, deep within, your soul has found its home. Part 6. Dwelling forever in His presence. In the end, when the journey has passed through every mountain and valley, through storms and sunlight, we finally see that everything we've been searching for, peace, love, meaning, hope, was never waiting at some faraway destination. It was here all along, quietly dwelling within the gentle presence of God. Every step, every tear, every whispered prayer was not wasted. They were all part of the same divine path. The road home leading to meant us back to the secret place beneath His wings. There were days we thought we had lost our way, yet in truth, we were being led home. There were seasons we thought were marked by loss, yet they were the very seasons God was teaching us how to let go, so He could hold us closer. In weakness, we learned His strength. In silence, we discovered His whisper. And in the darkest nights, when faith felt as fragile as breath, it was His love that held us steady. Now looking back, we can see the trail behind us. And in some places, only one set of the puts remains. But those were not the moments we walked alone. They were the moments He carried us. The times we thought we were breaking were when grace was working deepest. The cracks we tried to hide became the very places His light entered most beautifully. Every sorrow we endured, every tear we cried, none of it was wasted, became living proof of a love that never abandoned us. To dwell in His presence does not mean living without pain. It means always knowing where to return. No matter where life takes us, no matter how the world shifts, the heart remembers its home, because once the soul has known the way to the secret place, it never wanders again. It has found its resting place. In that sacred stillness, words become unnecessary, rituals fade, only honesty remains. Sometimes it takes nothing more than a single breath, a quiet whisper, Lord, I am here. And in that moment, the air itself fills with His nearness. Not because He suddenly arrived, but because we finally became still enough to realize He was here all along. God was never distant. We were simply too restless to hear how near His heart had always been. There will still be questions we cannot answer, mysteries we cannot explain. Understanding no longer matters when love has become enough. Faith no longer feels like effort, it becomes as natural as breathing. Prayer no longer feels like duty, it becomes the tender rhythm of two hearts beating as one. And in that sacred rhythm, we no longer just seek peace, we become peace. The world will continue to make noise. There will still be days when light fades too soon, and nights that linger too long. But we no longer tremble, for deep within us now lies a place, untouched by storms, the secret place of the Almighty, a place that cannot be taken, cannot be lost, cannot fade. No matter what happens around us, within us remains a calm that no darkness can reach, because the one who commands the wind and the waves lives there. Hope. And as we live from that sacred center, we begin to reflect Him. Our eyes carry the gentleness of grace. Our words plant seeds of hope. Our actions become vessels of love. No longer live to be seen, but so that His light may shine through us. One day, when every earthly journey has come to an end, when the final whisper has been spoken and the last breath released, the soul will finally understand the journey was never about reaching a destination. It was always about returning home, home to the one who has always been within us. On that day, we will no longer seek the secret place, for we will dwell in it forever, in the arms of the Father, in the light that never fades, in the peace that never ends. For in the end, only one thing remains: His presence. There, every tear will be wiped away, every wound will be healed, every silence will sing the song of life. There, the soul will rest, no longer afraid, no longer searching, simply abiding in the love that called our name before the beginning of time and will hold us beyond the end of it. So let this be the closing note of our journey, not an ending, but a homecoming. Storms may pass, the days may change, but His presence endures. And once you have found that place, once you have learned to dwell there, the whole world becomes different. Same sky looks softer, the same days feel lighter, the same heart that once trembled now beats with quiet confidence. Because now it knows I am not alone. I have never been alone, will never be alone. For this is the secret place, not just a refuge, but a home, not a moment, but a way of dual being, is a holy rhythm of trust, surrender, and love. And here, beneath the shadow of the Almighty, the heart finally whispers its last and truest prayer. I am yours and you are mine forever.